It's a way of America saying we have put a stake on this, the Biden administration, and therefore we expect to be listened to somewhat when it comes to the choice of targets when Israel likely hits Iran in the coming days. Are they going to hit oil targets, something the US is very against because it could have knock-on effects to the world economy? Are they going to hit nuclear targets, something that the US administration, for a reason I'm not quite sure on, has at least publicly been against? Or are they going to focus on perhaps on the Revolutionary Guards and military targets?
Yeah. Now, Israel seems near invulnerable from aerial attack after its defences stopped hundreds of missiles sent from Iran. But it is now clear that they can be hit. A Hezbollah drone attack has killed 4 soldiers. America now says it will send its own soldiers and anti-missile defence systems to help Israel. Meanwhile, the fighting that has caught up UN soldiers in southern Lebanon goes on. Let's catch up with Arieh Kovler, a political analyst in Israel. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How surprised were you that a drone could actually get through those defences?
Not terribly surprised for a couple of reasons. One, stuff gets through all the time. Rockets, missiles, and drones have regularly penetrated Israel's defences. They tend to hit open areas, or when they do hit inside civilian areas, often they're hitting into buildings and people are in their safe rooms. Everyone's got kind of lucky many times. But drones in particular, because they are very slow and because they're relatively low, air defences in general are not particularly optimized for them. So, they can look like birds, they can look like other things. They're much harder to track. That's one of the reasons why Russia made such extensive use of them in Ukraine. And these are basically the same drones, they're Iranian drones, the same ones that Russia's using. In this case, it seems like several drones were tracked, a couple of them were shot down, and one of them got through and was able to launch a rocket or a missile of its own, a projectile, before itself kind of doing a suicide crash as well.
I see. On the soldiers that are being sent by America to help Israel, there has been some tension with the Biden administration, and I don't know what this means. What is this? How welcome this will be, and also is this a moment? Do you think, because the idea of American troops going in to help is quite a new one?
I think it's an interesting statement. So these troops are supposed to be operating the THAAD system. This is a system that's really for very long range, big missiles, basically for helping against another attack from, not for the Hezbollah stuff. And it seems like that is a kind of dual statement from America. On the one hand, saying we are willing to help and support Israel against Iran, and willing to kind of put our chips down on the table on that, including on Israel's expected and promised response to the last Iranian missile attack, and then getting ready for Iran's expected response to that. On the other hand, something that's given is something that can be taken away. It's a way of America saying we have put a stake on this, the Biden administration, and therefore we expect to be listened to somewhat when it comes to the choice of targets when Israel likely hits Iran in the coming days. Are they going to hit oil targets, something the US is very against because it could have knock-on effects to the world economy? Are they going to hit nuclear targets, something that the US administration, for a reason I'm not quite sure on, has at least publicly been against? Or are they going to focus on perhaps on the Revolutionary Guards and military targets?
Yeah.
So I think that's partly why.
Can we also just talk finally about what's happening in southern Lebanon? The fighting there continues. It's caught up the UN soldiers, UNIFIL, and each of them are kind of, well, there's a lot of he said, she said going on. They were in the way. They let Hezbollah get away with it. What can you work out? What has actually happened there?
Look, there's a lot of fog of war. I don't have any inside information. I can only kind of make my assessments based on what I'm seeing. What I think is happening is, southern Lebanon, lots of villages, lots of places which are Hezbollah outposts, many of them built near to UN outposts on purpose originally, knowing it will make it harder for Israel to attack in turn. There's a lot of anger in Israel, and probably amongst, the average Israeli troop, the guy on the ground, that these UN guys are supposed to have been preventing Hezbollah. That's their mandate, to a degree, but they never did a damn thing and just sat there for years. And perhaps a sense of carelessness from some soldiers in the way that they're acting and some commanders. And also, it really seems like a UNIFIL which has really not objected to Hezbollah's actions in the last couple of years, including when Hezbollah has attacked it, by the way. It has kind of a sense in Israel that maybe they've gone a bit native on this, and at least, I'm not going to say supported Hezbollah, that's not fair, but objecting much more strongly to Israel's presence than to Hezbollah's presence, when their mandate was to keep both away. That said, lots of he said, she said. The UN said Israeli tank knocked down the door of a UN compound. Israel said, yes, that did happen, but the tank was running away from Hezbollah fire and backed into the compound while it was fleeing. It's very unclear exactly what's going on, but it seems like nobody's particularly wanting to lower the temper. Israel has asked the UN to kind of get out of the way at this point and keep themselves safe. And the moment the UNIFIL is saying no. So we'll have to see what happens there.
Arieh, thank you very much, as ever, for clearing up a couple of issues. That's Arieh Kovler, a political analyst in Israel.
شباب اعمال معروف طفي الكاميرا احنا هوا جاهزين اطلاق الصواريخ باتجاه
Okay, you can see next BSG 02, BSG 03, okay, that's up, BSG 04, stuff, BSG 05. Bunker 11, this is bunker 2. We have a total of 9 packs leave the bunker, and then one by one actually be kind of coming in. 08 and 9. Okay, ready? We're going to report back to him. Safe for you. Okay, so what we might.
سلوة سوى